Yankees trade deadline day is over, and one trade was very expected, the other not so much at all. Let's talk about that one. That's really the big one here. Jordan Montgomery traded to the St. Louis Cardinals for Harrison Bader. There's a lot to discuss on this one. It's questionable. I'm not the biggest Jordan Montgomery fan. Very serviceable back end of the rotation type of starter. He had been struggling lately, but still, like I said, he's frustrating where if you do give him a lead, which hasn't been often, he does tend to give that up pretty quickly. He does kind of pitch to the score. I'd call him an innings eater. He doesn't really go too deep into games, but pretty consistent. Has been in the Yankees organization for a while now, was drafted in 2014, made his debut in 2017. So, sad to see him go, Jordan Montgomery, who was a good Yankee. And ironically enough, the Yankees play the St. Louis Cardinals this weekend, and I'm pretty sure in the first game, Jordan Montgomery is going to be facing the New York Yankees in his first St. Louis Cardinals start. If not Friday, then Saturday. And who knows, maybe somehow Frankie Montas will be making his first Yankee start. So, really interesting. And the Yankees acquire Harrison Bader, who has been out for about a month with plantar fasciitis, has a foot injury. It is said that he will return before the season is done. And in terms of their contracts, both of them are under team control through the end of 2023, so the end of this season and next season. And Bader, a defensive first center field type of guy with some offensive upside. Look, in 103 games last year, he did hit 16 home runs and had 50 RBIs. So he has hit in the past. This year, 15 steals. He has someone that can run, can play good defense. So it's an interesting trade. The Yankees really, I feel like from just an outfield perspective, really want him to improve upon center field. And in some ways, they have done that in this trade. Aaron Hicks, I think that they knew that Aaron Hicks really can't fully be trusted as the center fielder. Now, will they use him in those situations? I think that they will at times. But ideally, if it's not Judge, I suppose Bader is the better option. For Montgomery, it's curious only for the reason that, look, Luis Severino on the 60-day IL. I think the idea is that he will return, but we have to view Severino as a question mark at this point. And I think the 60-day IL move, Severino was upset about it, as it turns out. So I think it was one of those things where they wanted to give him rest. He hasn't thrown this many innings in a long time, so I think they were doing it to protect him. I don't think he suffered a setback or anything, but the idea is that Severino would return, but you want to, they talked about wanting to limit the innings of Nestor Cortez. I think they kind of want to limit the innings for Jameson Taillon. Look, I think for now, this means that Domingo Germán stays in the rotation, which is a little upsetting. Look, he's been good in the past. I don't think Germán's going to have a huge role when it's all said and done, but, trading Montgomery away is interesting. I don't think that, ideally in the playoffs, I don't think he would have factored in a major way. My question was, who gets bumped in the rotation, Montgomery or Taillon? And probably would have been, I shouldn't say probably, there's a good chance it would have been both. If Severino was healthy, then it would have been both. If Severino's not healthy or has to come out of the pen, well, now we know that Taillon would, I guess, be that fourth starter, which is fine. But again, the other question here is that Harrison Bader is injured right now. So it remains to be seen when he'll return. It doesn't seem like it'll be imminent. I'm kind of picturing, and again, this St. Louis Cardinals fan would have a better idea on this. It feels like it'd be more so like a September return. And Bader, like a local product, Harrison Bader. So he'll be happy to come home. With Montgomery, very competitive guy. I felt like a lot, based on his demeanor, I feel like there was a lot of frustration there with Montgomery on the mound, in post game. And that's just me sort of just seeing the situation. I don't think it really has anything to do with the move here, but just observing that Montgomery, I feel like he felt slighted in some ways, that he was taken out too soon. I don't really agree with that, but I think the way the Yankees viewed Montgomery and the way that he viewed himself were two different things. And you respect the bulldog mentality from Montgomery, the fact that he wants the ball all the time. Like, that's a good thing. Um, but you know, it is interesting the way that everything had played out, where it seemed like the Yankees had a chance. And look, this would be a bad job by Cashman. I hope this wasn't the case, but it seemed like the Yankees, there was a chance the Yankees were going to acquire Pablo Lopez from the Marlins. Then all of a sudden it turns out that the Yankees trade Jordan Montgomery to the Cardinals, and then all of a sudden you find out soon after, yeah, Pablo Lopez trade isn't happening. So maybe the Marlins backed out, but I still think Cashman, he's been in this business for a long time, wouldn't pull the trigger on Montgomery without having any assurances on whether the Lopez deal was going to happen. But I think for Montgomery, I wish him well with the St. Louis Cardinals. I think that's a good addition for them. That's a team that is, you know, hoping to make the playoffs, and you know, either, you know, as the NL Central winner or as a wild card team. And for Harrison Bader, again, there is a level of upside there. This is someone that can hit home runs and can steal bases. So really, last year, if you prorate, which I don't like to do, but this was a guy that could have certainly been someone who hit 25. I mean, really, it's 16 homers and 50 RBIs in 103 games. That is really impressive, actually. And he's known as a very good defensive center fielder. So you hope that Bader makes an impact. That will make this deal easier to swallow, plus good health from the rotation. Maybe Clark Schmidt plays more of a role. You know, the Yankees feel as if they have a lot of depth, but there's risk to this move. Like, I think the Yankees had a really good trade deadline. But this one certainly, you know, is one that can be debated, and will be debated, I think, through the rest of the season and even through next season, you know, as we evaluate, I guess, how Montgomery does as a Cardinal and how Bader does as a Yankee. But I think this one will be talked about for sure. I had a feeling that there might be a deal that kind of comes out of left field, and it was this one. You know, in terms of if you had, you know, odds on Yankees that would be dealt out, I don't think Jordan Montgomery was very high on that list. Not at all. So that's one trade. And that's the big one. The other one was expected, and it was Joey Gallo finally getting traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So while, you know, LA's not like New York, I mean, look, there's World Series aspirations for that Dodger team, and Gallo will in some ways be in the spotlight. It won't be quite like New York, but Joey Gallo, it was a massive fail as a Yankee. Totally so. And Gallo will now be an LA Dodger. And he was traded for Double-A pitching prospect Clayton Beeter. Clayton Beeter had been the Dodgers' number 15 prospect. Now that he's with the Yankees, he's now the Yankees' number 10 overall prospect. So it's as good as you could do. Will Beeter ever turn into anything for the Yankees? Maybe not. In fact, there's probably a good chance that he won't. But Gallo was a complete fail here. You know, his numbers with the Yankees were really, really bad. He batted 160 last year, batted 159 this year. Like, last year was bad, and this year was even worse. Like, last year was really, really awful. But across the board, this year was so much worse. It never got any better. He struck out all the time, which we know that he does, but it was just a ridiculous amount. And he didn't really homer all that much. Last year he did it 13 homers as a Yankee in 58 games. Like, that's a pretty good number for sure. But this year 12 homers in 82 games. Which for Joey Gallo, that's just not going to get it done. So, you know, with the Dodgers, we'll see. Maybe, you know, they've been good with reclamation projects. I don't really think Joey Gallo is going to do all that well. In fact, you know, as a Yankee fan who views the Dodgers as a competitor, you know, certainly, who knows, like, maybe that's a World Series. Kind of hope Gallo's on that team, because I really think that he could hurt them. But who knows? Maybe, I think this is a trial period. It's a 2-month trial for Gallo. Like, he might not make that playoff roster, push comes to shove. I think he has to prove himself. I don't think it certainly won't be handed to him. And, you know, he'll hit his home runs, but I just think, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out there, but, you know, wish him well. Seems like a good enough dude, but just really, you know, very happy that he's out of the picture. So now Gallo's gone. Bader not yet on the roster. So now Tim Locastro, as I had figured, takes that Gallo spot of the roster. I think eventually Bader will take the Locastro spot. and that kind of makes sense. But, for now, Trevino and Efros will be on the active roster. Montas won't join the team until the St. Louis series. So I guess the decision will have to be made at that point, as far as what they want to do. You could go in a couple of different directions there, but certainly getting rid of Montgomery kind of takes away what could have been a tough decision as far as, sending a Marinaccio down or just outright getting rid of an Abreu or Licky. Now you can kind of push back that decision just a little bit. But again, trade deadline complete. It's a much different looking Yankee squad. Joey Gallo out. We expected that. That's a good thing. Very happy he's no longer a Yankee. He's with the Dodgers. And now it is Harrison Bader, who will be a New York Yankee and hopefully be seen by season's end, and Jordan Montgomery. I wish Jordan Montgomery well. He was a good Yankee, and now he's with the St. Louis Cardinals. So here we go. 2 months to go before the playoffs, and the New York Yankees roster is definitely starting to take focus.